UWW-TV, your home for Warhawk Athletics.
Tamir Thomas, house call on the first play of the drive.
Corralo with the interception at the buzzer. It's in! It's in!
That one's back towards left field. Gone! Ryan Norton goes yard.
Scores, highlights, analysis, and accolades. This is Warhawk Sports Central.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Warhawk Sports Central on UWW-TV, your home for Whitewater sports coverage. We're glad that you could join us tonight. I'm Chris Pittner alongside Alex Lazzarini. We will be joined by the Insider very shortly. On today's episode, we will discuss Warhawk women's basketball's trip to the Sweet 16, a special look at Whitewater wheelchair basketball ahead of their trip to the postseason, and the beginning of the Whitewater baseball season. Alex, it was a wild week of weather that we've had so far.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's 70 degrees one day, 20 the next. I switching between shorts and a jacket every other day, so it's very unpredictable around here.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of the definition of what they call Wisconsin weather. We get those false springs every once in a while, and we're kind of going through one of those right now, and I think we'll be back to winter in a week or two at this rate.
Sure hope not.
But before we get into Whitewater's weekend, we're going to take a look at the rest of the WEAC Conference. UW Stout and UW Oshkosh women's basketball teams both advanced to the Sweet 16, joining UW Whitewater. UW Oshkosh hosted their regional and won their games against Webster College and Trine University. The Titans will play Friday night in Brunswick, Maine against Smith College. On the other side, UW Stout came away with wins on the road against Washington University and Puget Sound. The Blue Devils now travel to Whitewater, where they will face the undefeated Transylvania Pioneers on Friday night and could see a potential matchup with the Warhawks in the Elite Eight. Alex, Oshkosh had a dominant weekend.
Yeah, I agree. This Titan team is it's really looking good. They had a dominant 74-48 win. So looking ahead, I mean, Bridget Frolke tied UW Oshkosh women's record with 7 3-pointers made in a game. She went for 25, 4, and 3, which is a career high for her and just an all-around great stat line. They are advancing. Hopefully we do see them down the road. I know the Warhawks and Titans split their series 1-1 this season. So they play Smith College. They're on a 13-game win streak, so we'll see if they get in the way of this Oshkosh team's advancement.
Yeah, I know Smith College is definitely going to be a tough matchup for UW Oshkosh, but looking at UW Stout, they had an absolutely dominant performance against Puget Sound this weekend as well, holding them to only 24% shooting from the field. They also have multiple weapons on offense, such as Reagan Sorensen, who is the second leading scorer in the conference, only behind Whitewater's Aaliyah Grundle, averaging around 18 points per game. They also have solid depth pieces, such as Anna Much and Lexi Wagner, who are both also really solid pieces for them. And just looking forward, they've been on an 11-game win streak, haven't lost since January, and went into the WEAC Conference Tournament and stunned UW Whitewater and UW Oshkosh on their home courts. So they're definitely going to be tough for the Transylvania Pioneers here. And in a potential rubber match with UW Whitewater, who they're 2-1 against this year, winning the last 2 matchups against them, it's definitely going to be tough for the Warhawks to advance out of this regional, just due to the power that this Stout Blue Devil team has shown so far this season.
I agree. I've been to a couple of their games against the Warhawks, so I've seen them play and I've seen them dominate, and they're a dangerous-looking team.
Yeah, for sure, but looking at Transylvania, they're definitely going to be another tough team. They were the defending national champions from last year. They're also one of the top defenses in all of Division III women's basketball. But the WEAC holds 3 of the final 16 spots in the NCAA tournament for the first time in the history of the conference, but only 4 teams will make it out of this weekend's games. Coming up next, we'll have a visit from the Insider here to talk about Whitewater women's basketball and the atmosphere of last weekend's games. We'll be right back after this.
A good citizen is someone who wants to make a positive impact, both in their communities and in the world around them. The Division III approach is absolutely the best approach out there for amateur sport because it wants student athletes to explore all parts of who they are. Be successful in the classroom, be successful in competition, be successful in the community. So our student athletes learn what it means to strive for and attain success, but doing it the right way and being good citizens.
Your home for excellence in action. The WIAC Network. Watch and download here.
Matt checking in to see how Sam is doing on his project. And it's getting close to exporting now, the final step in the process. And it is complete, and Sam is hyped. Finally gets complete and spikes the ball into the end zone. Sam's celebrating with his colleagues, and they throw a flag on the play. The ref's going to call excessive celebration. Sam is in disbelief and can't believe it. He tries to dispute the call, but the ref is not having any of it.
Welcome back to Warhawk Sports Central on UWW-TV. Whitewater women's basketball survives the first 2 rounds and advances to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. This weekend saw the Warhawks' 2 highest scoring games of their season, with the first being an 86-47 win over the Minnesota Morris Cougars, followed by an 89-65 win over the Milliken Big Blue. Here with more insight on this past weekend is the insider Don Hernandez. Don, take it away.
Yeah, guys, this weekend was a crucial return to the win column for the Warhawks. Just 10 days after getting bounced in the WIAC tournament by UW Stout, they find themselves in the Sweet 16 now. What it took to get there was high-paced offense. Casey Corralo was consistently getting to the paint and in turn creating outlets for the rest of her team. Corralo averaged 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists in those first 2 games, including a triple-double in the second round. Another big part of this weekend was the defense. Whitewater outscored their opponents 104-47 in the first half of these games, jumping out the gates right away. On top of that, the Warhawks forced 53 turnovers last weekend, with both games raising their season average on that front. The energy of the Warhawks was unmatched by the Cougars and the Big Blue as UW-Whitewater dances to the Sweet 16 for the 3rd consecutive season. Coach Carrie Corralo said they talk a lot about their conference and how it has to do with their challenges nightly in the WIAC. Adding that, it really helps them prepare for these types of postseason situations.
Don, what was your major takeaway from the game, or what stood out to you throughout the performance against Milliken?
What really stood out to me with the performance against Milliken was the defense. The defense by Whitewater was just amazing. They only held them to 25 points a half when Milliken is a number 4 ranked offense in the country, averaging about 84 points a game. And they also have the number 2 ranked Elise Knudsen, who did pop off in the 3rd quarter, but it wasn't enough to get the Whitewater down, so Whitewater just played very good defense.
Yeah, what was the major takeaway in the press conference for the post game and looking forward?
The major takeaway was how they were against Stout and what they are now. So I actually got to ask Carrie Corralo what she took away from the game against Stout and how she applied it to it now. And she said that they were just mentally and physically tired, and they knew that, but they also know that UW Stout was a very good team, and they were trying to figure out why they weren't playing so well, but then they figured out that it was just they were mentally and physically tired, and they were just ready for a break, and then they got that break, and which is why they are now dancing into the Sweet 16.
Don, what are some strengths that you saw the Warhawks during this game?
Some strengths I saw was definitely defense. Defense was number one. They played unbelievable defense. As we saw, Katie Hildebrand had 3 blocks, just huge. Casey Corralo was locks on Elise Knudsen for a little bit until the third quarter, but then they got it under control once again. And everyone just played an amazing game defensively. They didn't let up too many points. I know Carrie Corralo's goal was to be in the 60s range and let up 60-something points and not 80-something points, and Whitewater did just that as they were able to take that game and score about 86 points. So that was definitely one thing, as well as ball movement. Ball movement was very good, a lot of passes, which is why Casey Corralo has her first triple-double of her career in a program. So that's why she had 10 assists. It was just overall great ball movement, and defense is what really took away from that game.
So Don, what are your expectations for this region that Whitewater's in?
What I expect from Whitewater is just their great defense they've been playing, the great ball movement they've been doing. You know, Hope beat them 2 years ago in the national championship, and Whitewater's looking for their revenge and their get back. So I expect them to be dialed in this Friday. But then we move to UW Stout versus Transylvania. UW Stout is just an unbelievable basketball team. It's hot right now, 11-game win streak. But then they're also going against the undefeated and reigning champions, Transylvania. So I expect to see just 2 really good games this weekend, and I'm pretty excited to see what Saturday's result's going to be.
Each of this region's games will be broadcast live on UWW-TV, with pregame coverage coming 10 minutes prior to each game's tip-off this weekend. Coming up next, a 2-part special of Inside Warhawk Sports. UWW-TV's AJ Kober spoke with the head coach of both the men's and women's wheelchair basketball teams ahead of their postseason runs. We'll be right back.
Welcome to this week's edition of Inside Warhawk Sports on UWW-TV. I'm your host, AJ Kober, joined by Warhawk women's wheelchair basketball head coach, Jake Schaefer. Coach, you were an athlete yourself while being an undergraduate here at Whitewater, winning a couple of national championships and even got invited to a Paralympic tryout. How have these experiences impacted your coaching style?
So it gave me a lot of experience on how to be successful in wheelchair basketball. And when I played here, I played for someone named Jeremy Lottie. He also goes by Opie. He's an advisor now on campus, and he was a very smart basketball coach who taught me how to play the game very completely. And that's what helped me get to a Paralympic tryout. And then that itself just kind of showed me how to get people to the international level. So it really helps me train athletes to get to the top level in basketball, knowing what it takes to get there myself.
The women's team has 3 national championships in their history. What has your team done this season that could possibly lead to a 4th title?
We work really hard. They put in 5 days of work. Practice-wise, we're here 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. every single day. And on top of that, we do 3 scrimmages and 2 workout lifts, weight lifts outside of practice to make sure that we're getting, on the right track. This year, unfortunately, we had a lot of people have some medical issues, and it wasn't even like basketball injury related. It was just some medical stuff that they had to take care of, so they couldn't play this semester. So it's putting us behind the 8 ball a little bit. But we've worked really hard and practiced really well with each other and developed great chemistry this year. So we're moving in the right direction.
Whitewater's wheelchair basketball program is one of the best in the country. With the upcoming national tournament, how is this team compared to years prior?
We just are a lot more confident on the court. We've gotten a lot more wins this season. We're just putting ourselves in a much more successful direction, and I'm excited for what the future brings.
We'd love to show you what it's like to be a Warhawk. Come on! Don't miss out on your chance to be a Warhawk
at UW Whitewater.
You belong here!
Passion's love. Passion is love for what you do. Because I think when you face challenges, it comes down to how much you want it and how much you love it. Passion is what keeps you going forward. Seeing so many people that were like-minded and so hardworking in their sport and academics, being surrounded by like-minded people makes you want to be more passionate. I think it pushes you to a different level that maybe you didn't think you had. And you can do the best of both worlds and love all of it.
UWW-TV has been an important part of the campus and community since 1980.
Not only providing on-air learning opportunities for broadcast journalists and electronic media production students,
but educating and entertaining our audiences with award-winning news, live sports coverage, original programming,
as well as dedicating the mission to developing creative collaborations throughout campus.
For more information, visit our website and like us on Facebook.
Check us out because you got to see what's on UWW-TV.
Here at UW Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport.
Come on!
Stepped it anyways. Oh, she got that off. They're going to count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals.
Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today. Welcome to this week's edition of Inside Warhawk Sports on UWW TV. I'm your host, AJ Kober, joined by Warhawk men's wheelchair basketball head coach, Jake Williams. Coach, since this program started in 1973, the men's team has 13 national championships and are considered a favorite every year. What has led to this program's success?
Well, I think just the culture that we've built over the last 50 or so years, the culture of a winning attitude and working really hard to meet our goals, and because of that, I think that's led to a lot of success.
You've won gold medals with Team USA as a Paralympic wheelchair basketball player yourself. How has your time with Team USA changed your coaching style, especially this season?
Ooh, well, I think that me having so much success at the international level, it really has allowed me to come in here and get buy-in right away, and because of that, I can be completely honest with the guys in what they need to do, what they're not good at, what they can be good at, how capable that they can be. And so I think because of my success on the court, it really allows me to be just more honest on the court than maybe some coaches have to sugarcoat it or something like that.
Currently, the men's team is atop of the intercollegiate division in the NWBA standings. What differences are you seeing this season compared to previous seasons?
I think this season compared to last season, I think we brought in a few more guys to make the team a little bigger, but I think the biggest difference is everyone is just working a little bit harder. Everyone's attention to detail is just a lot better, and I think we're getting buy-in from the very start, because from the very start of the year, this team kind of believed that they could be one of the top teams. So I think all that combined really makes a really successful team.
With the national tournament approaching, how have you prepared your team?
Just trying to get better every day. We have a tournament this weekend, and I think the goal is just get better a little bit every single day. And if that leads to a national championship, great. But if not, then that's okay.
Thanks again to AJ and Josh Jacoby for giving us an inside look at a pair of Whitewater's most successful athletic programs. Laz, what were your key takeaways from this women's episode?
Well, watching the women's episode, I noticed that Coach Jake Schaefer is extremely passionate about what he does. He wants to encourage his team to play at their highest possible ceiling that they can play. They're 3-time national champions, but with the amount of work they put in on and off the court, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for a 4th title. They've just worked and built so much chemistry. They're a lot more confident. They've added more wins this season than last season. So overall, I think the video from AJ was a great look inside of it, showing how they can possibly push for a 4th title.
Yeah, I think the same can be said for the men's team, Laz. They're definitely looking very impressive this year. They're actually in the top of the intercollegiate standings for wheelchair basketball. Coach Jake Williams mentioned that they added a lot of depth this season, and that's really going to help them down the stretch because last year they were just lacking a little bit on depth. They were able to hang around with some of the best teams in the country, such as Arizona, Auburn, and Alabama, for extended periods of that game, but I think they just kind of run out of stamina towards the end. But this year with that added depth and the extra experience from Coach Williams being on the Paralympic teams, it definitely is going to help them go the distance this year in the NIWBT.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We'll discuss the beginning of the UW Whitewater baseball season and their up and down opening weekend in San Antonio, Texas when we return to Warhawk Sports Central.
Responsibility is being accountable for your words and actions, first and foremost. It also is an obligation to be a positive influence in the communities around you. Being in a D3 program, you're going to have lots of different opportunities. You're not just an athlete, you're also involved in student life. Your academics are extremely important. We give a lot of our student athletes responsibilities right from the start by giving them leadership opportunities, by having them engage in the community, be a positive influence. That's being a responsible person.
The Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. We're here to compete, to inspire, to grow, and to make history. We are rooted in tradition. For over a century, we have contended as the premier conference within Division III.
I shot the
ball. We are united throughout Wisconsin. All 8 of our full-time member institutions are based in our great state. But although Wisconsin is our home, our impact reverberates across the entire nation, crowning 180 national team championships and counting. Our mission is to shape student athletes who excel academically and athletically, equipped to become leaders in life. We are here to build on our enduring legacy and move boldly forward into the future. We are the WIAC, Excellence in Action.
For Hawk Talk, especially on days I'm hosting, you really need to be up early looking at those news stories. Even the night before, I'm finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
Once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW TV.
Welcome back to Warhawk Sports Central on UWW-TV. Whitewater Baseball was back in action this weekend, playing 4 games in San Antonio against the 19th-ranked Trinity Tigers. The Warhawks dominated the first half of the series, winning the first 2 games 14-3 and 21-2. However, the tides changed in games 3 and 4 as they lost a 7-8 nail-biter to the Tigers on Friday night and a 1-9 blowout on Saturday morning. Chris, can you discuss the first 2 games for us?
I think they just played great complementary baseball in those 2 games, Laz. They had some great pitching performances, such as Jack Hagan, who threw 4 scoreless innings, and also struck out 8 batters and only gave up 1 hit during that. And also, Eli Frank hit 8 for 16 through the whole weekend, and Adam Kootway actually hit 3 for 5 in the first game of those. He's definitely someone to watch out for. But in the second 2 games, they definitely struggled a little bit to just get going on both sides. The pitching kind of fell apart a little bit. So they surrendered only 4 total runs in the first 2 games, but surrendered 9 in the last one especially, and they just really struggled to get anything going offensively in that game. And definitely it's just going to be a concern of depth potentially for the team through the rest of the season, and that could be an issue moving forward in some of those doubleheaders where they have to play against great teams like La Crosse and Stevens Point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Whitewater's definitely, I heard they're predicted to go 3rd behind La Crosse and Stevens Point, so if they beat those 2 teams, they should be in line for top of the WEAC conference. Hopefully they can pull that out. They do have 4 returning players, such as the WEAC Position Player of the Year, Adam Kootway. So it's good to see him back out there and doing what Adam Kootway does and kind of just dominating in almost everything. He led the conference in batting with a .477 average. He led the conference in runs. He led the conference in hits. Led the conference in triples, and he led the conference in RBIs. So I think if he's playing up to his full potential along with any of the other supporting people, then we're going to have a good shot this year.
But this team's going to have to win a lot, especially in this first month away from home. They don't play their home opener until March 29th. They have to go on a trip to Pensacola, where they're going to get some valuable experience as they have in prior years, playing against some of the best teams in the country. But their home opener, like I said, is on March 29th versus UW Stout, and that's going to be their first game here, obviously, at Jim Miller Stadium, and that's going to be huge. But with a lot of returners this year, there's definitely going to be a lot of pressure for this team to perform, for sure, Alex.
Yeah, those conference wins are huge. They're really make or break for this Warhawks team.
Thank you for tuning into Warhawk Sports Central. Be sure to check out uwwtv.org for more sports, news, and other entertainment programming. For our insider, Don Hernandez, Alex Lazzarini, and our entire studio crew, I'm Chris Pittner saying good night from UWW-TV's Conover studio. We'll be back with more coverage of UW Whitewater Athletics next time on Warhawk Sports Central.